Sentire Media.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of A New Life in Italy, the podcast that gives you the real scoop on living, thriving, and creating your dream life in Italy. I'm your host, Samantha Wilson, and today we're digging into a topic that will affect many people, especially those planning to move to Italy with a Digital Nomad Visa. And that is, how do you bring your family with you to Italy? So if you've been wondering, can my spouse come too, or what about my kids? This is your episode. We will go over what's actually possible, what the law allows, what the process looks like, and what you absolutely need to plan ahead for so your family doesn't get left behind. Are you ready? Let's get started. I'm Samantha Wilson, Chief Dreammaker at smartmoveitaly.com, and this is A New Life in Italy, a show where each week I take you behind the scenes of what it's really like to move to Italy, introduce you to some fascinating people, answer your questions, and show you how starting a new life in Bel Paese is possible for you. Okay, let's start with the short answer. Yes, you can bring your family to Italy with you as a Digital Nomad Visa holder, but it's not as simple as it used to be. So let's start at the beginning. If you are applying for a visa with at least 1 year validity, so this is a Digital Nomad Visa, a work visa, and a lot of student visas, then you are permitted to have your family join you under the same visa. They do not need to get their own visa, but rather can join you, the visa holder. Now, this also includes the investor visa, but this visa is a little bit different and more streamlined. So for today, I just want to focus on the Digital Nomad Visa applicant and their spouse and families. Now, let me clarify first what that means. Your spouse. For the purpose of this process, your spouse is somebody that you are legally married to or have a legal civil union. So this can be a same-sex couple for sure, but there has to be a legal marriage. Common law will not work here in Italy. So if you are one of those couples out there that have been waiting for some reason to marry, well, now you have it. But there are some new rules that also can impact your plans and your timing on bringing your family here to Italy on the Digital Nomad Visa. Now, in the past, we would rely on something called family cohesion. And this is a process where all of you can apply for your permesso di soggiorno directly here in Italy. Now, the process was that how we would do it is that after the applicant would get their visa, then the family would all travel together to Italy. And the family, though, would be as a tourist, and the visa holder would have their visa. And then once everyone was here, the visa holder would apply for their permesso di soggiorno within 8 days of arrival, as you have to do. And at the same time, the spouse would apply for their permesso di soggiorno, but based on family cohesion, so doing it together when they're here in Italy. They, at that time, would apply for at the post office, and then they would get an appointment to go to the questura, which is the main immigration office, for their fingerprints and complete the permesso di soggiorno application. No worries, no issues. However, now, of course, this has all changed, and the Digital Nomad Visa holder must apply now for their permesso di soggiorno directly at the questura, so the main immigration office, bypassing the post office altogether, which is raising some different problems. Now, there's a new law that says, I think it came out last year, that says that the Digital Nomad Visa holder, of course, can bring their family with them, but the rule is that that visa holder has to reside in Italy for 2 years before they can bring their family. Now, I know you're panicking now when you heard that, and obviously this is completely ludicrous because the purpose of the Digital Nomad Visa, which, by the way, took forever to be approved in Italy, the purpose of that was to attract highly skilled people to Italy and to tell them that they cannot bring their family for 2 years. Well, obviously it would eliminate any applicant from even applying altogether. Now, what is curious is that the children of the visa holder can come immediately with the visa holder, but the spouse, they have to stay behind for 2 years. So I don't know, maybe in some situations that might be fine, but in the most cases, it's not. Obviously, it's not acceptable. And the good news is, though, that there is a workaround, as there always is here in Italy. And we call it the family visa. Now, this visa will add some time to your application process, like 30 to 90 days, more like 90 days, but definitely not 2 years. So let's talk about what you need to do to get this family visa. If you are married and have a spouse that wants to move to Italy with you, then you need to follow a very specific process. Now, the first thing is that you, the visa holder, need to successfully apply for the visa. So you need to get the Digital Nomad Visa first. And this can take, the visa application process can take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. It depends on where you're applying. And keep in mind that you need to have a place to live here in Italy before you apply. So you also need to ensure that the property that you own or that you rent is suitable for your spouse and your children to live in. Now, I'll explain that a little bit more later on. Once you have your Digital Nomad Visa, once it's approved and you receive that visa, the sticker that's inside your passport, then and only then can you start the process to bring your family over on what's called a family reunification visa. Now, here's how it works. First of all, you need a nulla osta. So after your visa is approved, your spouse needs to apply for a special clearance. It's called a nulla osta. Now, this is a document that's issued by the immigration office here in Italy, and it can only be done in Italy. It's a clearance that you need before applying for the visa. And you can only apply for it after you have your visa, because we have to show that you have your visa in order to apply for the family clearance, the family nulla osta. Now, this means that you will need to give someone here in Italy the power of attorney, a limited power of attorney, to apply for the nulla osta on your behalf, on your spouse's behalf. And they will present your application, including your legal status, you're married, of course, the property where you'll be living in, and the visa holder and the visa holder's ID and a bunch of other documentation. Now, the process can take about 30 to 90 days just to receive the nulla osta. And remember, this can be done only after you've already received your visa. So we're probably talking another, 9 months from the time that you started to apply before you'll actually get this nulla osta. The nulla osta should not be denied if you're worried about that. Can they say, no, your spouse can't come with you? They more than likely will not. I mean, you can never say never 100%, but usually no. The nulla osta for the spouse will not be denied as long as you have all of the documentations and everything is in order. It's simply a procedure, a clearance in order for your spouse to get the visa. Now, once the nulla osta is issued, it is sent to the consulate in your jurisdiction where your spouse will have to go and eventually collect that visa. Now, keep in mind that appointments at consulates are very difficult to get. So this, if you're thinking about timing again, this can extend your time just waiting for that second visa appointment. Okay, so once they get the visa, then your family, your spouse, is free to travel and enter Italy together with you, the visa holder, and start the process. Now, all of that sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, kind of, because there are some things to consider that can often get in the way. Now, first of all, you will need to ensure that your rental or your home has something called an idoneità alloggiativa. Now, this is also a suitability certificate. Now, basically, it's a document that's issued by the comune, so the place that you're living in, that says that the property that you intend to live in and bring your family to live in is suitable for everyone. Now, in some cities, this document is a simple application. And in others, it can be easy. I mean, you can be quick, but in others, it can be very complicated and take many, many days and many documents and many steps. Generally speaking, in most cases, unfortunately, it's a problematic process. So plan for it. You probably will need some help. If you own a house, you can call your geometra to ask them about the suitability certificate. If you're renting, you can ask the owner if they have one. Likely they won't. Otherwise, you'll have to do all of this yourself. Now, you can only apply for the suitability certificate after you take possession of your property. So if you're renting, you have to factor all of this in. You will have to plan on paying some rent because you'll need to already be renting the property before you can start the suitability certificate process. So first you need a suitability certificate. And then you also need to make sure that you have all of your documents in order. So this is your marriage license, a long-form birth certificate of your children. And that means a birth certificate that has both of the parents' names on it. You'll also need to show proof of income. You'll also need to show your visa. And all of your vital documents will need to be apostilled and translated. Now, an apostille, if you haven't heard of that before, it's a legalization of a document that needs to be used in Italy. And it can be done in the state or the province where that document was issued. Now, to find out where that is, just Google apostille in, and then wherever it was your document was issued. So if your kids were born in California, just go apostille in California, and then it'll show you where you can send your documents to. And it's very important to get these documents in advance because an apostille sometimes and translations can take several weeks and sometimes several months, depending on the document. So make sure you do all of this in advance so you have this all ready for you. Now, the next thing that you have to consider is that this is a fairly new procedure in Italy, which means that there is a lot of confusion. It's not widely understood, and the procedures are, they vary from questura to questura. And although we work on many digital nomad visas and investor visas all over Italy, in some of these cities, we have been the first people to process this new visa. And we find that some questura are okay, they get it. Some are completely at a loss, and we need to explain absolutely everything to them. And others really demand things that are not only not part of the procedure, but impossible to get. So there's a little bit of a conflict there. So the main point really is to be patient and expect delays and a lot of confusion with this one. Now, I'm all for DIY, but in this one, my friends, you are going to need some help. Do not try to do this one on your own, especially when you have so much at stake, which is bringing your family with you to Italy. Now, there is a little bit of an alternative to try to, go down this family visa path. It's not one that I recommend, but it's one you might be thinking about if you're a little bit creative, or you might have heard about. And this is to continue to try the old way. Remember what I explained, the family cohesion way. And this means that don't go do the family visa after the digital nomad visa has been issued. Instead, all of you pack up and arrive with the visa holder, the spouse and the kids as tourists. And when you're here together try to apply for the permessi, for the permesso di soggiorno for each of you. Now, this may or may not work, and as time goes by, the chances of success will definitely decrease, and we're seeing more and more cities, more and more places are absolutely demanding this. So it's something you can try to do, but if you choose this way, the risk is that you will be denied and that you will have to start the family visa from scratch. Again, think about the time. You're looking at 30, 60, 90 more time, even more than that, to start from the beginning. You will also need to return to your home country, of course, to get the visa and to do the application. And if it takes more than 90 days, then you are out of Schengen. So I really strongly recommend that you follow through with the family visa process. Even if people say or you think you might be lucky, I strongly recommend that you just try to do it the right way from the beginning. Then there'll be no stress, no worries. And believe me, moving across the world with your family is stressful enough. It's better that you have all of these things in place so that when you arrive, you've removed a lot of the barriers that you'll be facing. Now, if you need some help, you can see how we can help you with the family visa. Just go to our website at www.smartmoveitaly.com/family visa, and it explains this visa in more detail. But let's just recap what I just explained. Number one, yes, as a digital nomad visa holder, you can bring your spouse and your kids, but you need to get the family visa. You cannot apply for the family visa until you have your digital nomad visa. And as a note, you will need to show that you have to have income high enough to support your spouse and children. So although the digital nomad visa only requires 28,000 euros a year, if you plan on bringing your spouse and your children, you will need to have more income, not necessarily from your activity as a digital nomad visa holder, but from somewhere else. You need to have more income. It's usually about 30% more for each additional person. But again, this is discretionary. Now, you will also need to add about 3 months to the process. You will need a place to live and one that has a suitability certificate, which you will need to give at the point of the nulla osta. You will also need to hire someone in Italy to assist you with the nulla osta and the visa and grant them limited power of attorney because you cannot apply for this nulla osta unless you're here in Italy. Now, once you both have your visas, then of course, all of you can come to Italy together. And the question is then, once you arrive in Italy and get the permesso di soggiorno, you and your spouse get one, Can your spouse work? And the great answer is yes. So there is good news to all of this. You, as the digital nomad visa holder, are permitted to do all of the work that you have said that you do as a digital nomad person. You can't go out and find a job at a coffee shop or somewhere else in Italy. You, as the visa holder, are only permitted to do the work as the visa holder that you told them that you do. Your spouse, on the other hand, can do anything. They can work for themselves. They can start a business. They can work remotely. They can even get a job here in Italy. So it's much more open for the spouse. And when you get the family visa and the permesso di soggiorno, it makes this much easier. And your kids, they can go to school, they can hang out, and you can start your new life together here in Italy. So although this new visa for your family is more bureaucracy, you got to get used to that. That's Italy. It's more time. So factor that in, and it's going to cost you a little bit more money. It will eventually allow you all of the freedom that you need to build a new life here with very little restrictions. Now, here's what I recommend if you know from the start that you want to bring your family. First of all, have a strategy. Don't wait until your visa is approved to start thinking about the documents or thinking about this family visa. Start gathering these things now. Remember, get the original certificates. They all need to be apostilled. They all need to be translated. The birth certificates of your kids need to be long form. If you have full custody of your children, you will need that full custody order translated, apostilled, and also other documents to support that you have permission to bring that child and move that child to another country. And of course, check your passports. Make sure that they're valid at least for 1 year plus 3 months from the date of your visa. And then second, of course, get help. Again, I always say get help from someone. It doesn't always have to be people like us or a service provider. It can be someone else that helps you. But in this visa in particular, the family visa, unless they're very aware of what they need to do, this can be a problem for you. So immigration offices in Italy are not all the same. And having a professional guide you along can really make or break your success. And because this is a new visa, it's complicated. So to apply for the nulla osta, you will need someone here in Italy. That is just a fact. And you'll need to give them the power of attorney, a limited power of attorney to work for you. Now consider also temporary visits. So if your spouse and kids can come with you after you get the visa, you can start this whole thing earlier. You don't necessarily all have to wait back in your home country until all of the visas are obtained. You can start the process as soon as you get your visa, and then all of you can come to Italy together. And then within that first 90 days, that window of 90 days, your spouse can be together. You can be living and setting up your house and waiting for the clearance, waiting for the nulla osta to process. Now, once that nulla osta is processed, then your spouse will have to return back to your home country and get the visa. So keep that in mind, that they have to go back home. And keep in mind that if this process takes more than 90 days, which is all they have as a tourist, they will have to depart and they'll have to stay out of Schengen in Italy until the nulla osta and the visa has been obtained. So there is risk to it. But if you absolutely need to be here by the time you get your first visa, there is a way that you can come as long as what's cooking in the background is the family visa. Don't wait for that. As long as that's working in the background, it's possible to do that. Keeping in mind, you only have 90 days as a tourist, your spouse does, to get everything completed. So let's wrap it all up. If you are applying for the digital nomad visa for Italy and you want your spouse and your kids with you, just remember you have to do it in stages. It can be done, and we do it all the time, every single day, as a matter of fact. But it will add time. It'll be about an extra maybe 3-6 months after your digital nomad visa has been obtained. So factor that also into your planning, especially if you have kids and they want to start school at a certain time. Now, if you're not sure where to start, we offer a free evaluations. This is new, by the way. We have a free evaluation, visa evaluation calls, so you can figure out exactly what is possible for you and your family. If you head to our website at smartmoveitaly.com, you can book a free call with Zach at any time. And as always, keep in mind that this episode is from May 2025, so be sure to double check the procedures at your consulate when you're ready to apply, because Italy loves to change procedures and sometimes overnight, just to keep you on your toes. It's time for listener questions. Just like the old radio call-in shows, my team has picked 3 listener questions, all left on our voicemail. I have no idea what these questions are, but I haven't been stumped yet. Are you ready? Let's get started. All right, let's get to our questions. Question number 1. Can I work remotely from Italy on my spouse's family visa? All right, so what can happen is the Digital Nomad Visa holder, if we're talking about a Digital Nomad Visa, they can only do the work that they said they do as a digital nomad. They cannot do anything else. That's the rule. However, the spouse can do anything that they want. If they're here and they have their permesso di soggiorno based on the fact that they are married to a Digital Nomad Visa holder, they can work for a company outside of Italy, a company inside of Italy, open their own business, anything they want. They can also study if they want. Now, if you're here as a student visa holder and bring your spouse, the student visa holder is allowed to work for 20 hours a week, no more than 20 hours a week, but the spouse has a free-for-all, can do anything that they want. So that's all good news. Question number 2. What if we're not legally married? Can I bring my partner? And I know I talked about this in this episode, but if you're just listening to these questions, Italy recognizes marriage. They have to be recognized through your home country through a marriage, a legal marriage, or a civil union. Common law is not recognized here in Italy. Now, before you go, wait a minute, I heard somebody do that sometime. There are some very specific workarounds where common law can be joined by an Italian resident. This is not the situation we're talking about today, but can be joined by an Italian resident. But there has to be very specific requirements, and it's almost always denied. So the better answer is you must be married and you must have a civil union. You can be a same-sex couple. That's perfectly fine, but as long as you have a marriage to prove it. Question number 3. Can I use a family visa to bring my spouse with me if I have an elective residency visa? All right, great question. So the short answer is no. Actually, the elective residency visa is a little different from the digital nomad visa and other visas. On the elective residency visa, you can have dependents tag along with you, and that has to be a child under the age of 18 or dependent parents. And that means parents who are handicapped in some way that you have to take care of them and that there's no one else in your home country that can take care of them. So they have to come with you. But as an elective residency visa holder, every other adult in your family, so you and your spouse each have to have an elective residency visa. A spouse cannot piggyback on one elective residency visa. They must have their own and they must equally qualify for an elective residency visa. So not like a digital nomad or student visa. If you have an elective residency visa, you cannot and do not use the family visa at all for your spouse. Your spouse must get their own elective residency visa. Well, that's all for this week's episode. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about visas, citizenship, property, and well, really anything about moving to Italy that you would like me to answer in an upcoming episode, please feel free to send us a voicemail at our website at smartmoveitaly.com/podcast, or just click on the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and remember, you can find all of the resources and the links to the people and the places that I mentioned in this episode inside the show notes. Ciao for now. A New Life in Italy podcast is a production of Sentire Media, created and hosted by me, Samantha Wilson. Production by London Nero, and with special thanks to Ali Frothingham, Sofia Pisana, and the entire team at Sentire. Follow A New Life in Italy wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you're thinking of moving to Italy, whether full-time, part-time, or for a lifetime, come and see me over at smartmoveitaly.com and we'll help you get here and start living your best life. And don't forget, if you love this episode, please rate and leave a review. It's much appreciated. I can't wait to meet up with you again next week, same time, same place. Ciao for now.
Sentire Media.
Well, hello there, podcast listeners. Quick heads up before we get started on the show today. For anyone dreaming of retiring to Italy, my live elective residency visa workshop is back, and it's better than ever. I'm going live on April the 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But don't stress if you can't make it live, because there is always a replay. Now, this workshop is invaluable and has helped hundreds of people nail their elective residency visa application. And considering how tricky getting this visa has become and all of the myths floating around, this 90-minute session with a live Q&A with me really is your ticket to clarity. I'm going to be diving into everything you need to know: what the ERV is, assembling your documents, and proving your financial viability, plus a whole lot more. You will also have access to my ERV workbook, which is full of templates and tips that has really helped a lot of my clients succeed. In fact, at a recent consulate appointment, a client just wrote saying they said it could take 90 days, but when they saw that our application packet was based on your workbook, they just smiled and said, "Come back next week." So yes, my success rate is 100%, and this workshop will be the best investment for your visa prep. Remember, I only do this 2 times a year, so if you're eyeing Italy in the next 12 months, now is the time to get in. Grab your spot. It's only $67. You're saving $30 if you register before April the 2nd, and spots are going fast, so don't wait too long. If you want some more information, visit us at smartmoveitaly.com/ERV live. I hope to see you there. Now, on with the show.